quick poll. Raise your hand if you ever experienced a turning point in your life that made you turn into the better version of yourself. Great. As I see all those hands, I'm reminded of my own turning point, which I would love to share it with all of you today. Day after day, I would find myself drawn towards emotional eating and mindless binge watching. And I used those coping mechanisms as a shield to avoid confronting the deeper issue I was facing. And then suddenly, something unexpected happened. My Netflix subscription expired. And suddenly, the room was filled with deafening silence. No more constant distraction, and no more ability to simply zone out in front of the screen. And in that moment, I realized that this was my turning point. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A couple of years ago, I went through a devastating setback that left me emotionally and mentally depleted. I felt unsafe and overwhelmed, struggling to confront the harsh realities of the situation. And over time, my inner turmoil grew increasingly loud and intense. And in a desperate attempt to quit the cascade of distressing thoughts, I turned into an unhealthy habit, which was binge watching for hours in an effort to numb myself. And that went on for a month, until I woke up one morning after a restless night, and I was expecting to continue watching one of my favorite TV shows, which was Lucifer at the time on Netflix. And then suddenly, when I turned on the TV, I knew it! Something was wrong. When I couldn't access my TV show, I panicked, and I couldn't handle the silence of the room. So I shouted out loud, "Now! Seriously!" My husband burst into the room and immediately grasped the whole situation. He sat down on the sofa and told me, "Honey, I know you're in the darkest moment of your life, but today I'm going to share with you the secret recipe to overcome this. But before I start, let me ask you this. Do you know that the hardest moment, the hardest person to be honest with is yourself?" His word shattered my whole belief system. As he went on, we're all schooled never to lie. We're told repeatedly that honesty is the most important of all ethics. However, what people tend to forget to teach us is the importance of self-honesty. So you've got to be honest with yourself, baby. His words are still lingering in my head. And on that day, I learned my lesson. On that day, I knew it. I was never true to myself. On that day, I learned something even more precious. That I have been fortunate to have a great mentor in my life who is always there for me, believing in me, and gently pushing me to overcome the barriers I had built around myself. Isn't this what true mentorship is all about? Believe me, my friend, this isn't an easy realization. Being honest with yourself is hard. Despite it being challenging, being honest with oneself can make life easier and less complicated and much more beautiful. You begin to love yourself with all your flaws. And that is the turning point towards contentment and inner peace. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, through my beloved husband, life-changing advice, I started to love solitude. And being with myself began to be a blessing, which I no longer enjoyed watching TV as before. And more importantly, I realized that the power of mentorship lies not just in the guidance and knowledge, but in the deep and meaningful connections between partners. And every relationship has the potential to be a mentorship in disguise. You just have to be open to seeing it. And always remember, the beauty of truth, whether it's good or bad, it is always liberating. And thank you. Back